Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We have a long, wonderful meeting ahead of us, starting with performers. So I'm going to read the statement of public notice to get us all started. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Bernards Township. Notice of the time and place of this meeting was provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education and to the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education offices. For those members of the public who cannot attend our meeting in person, a live stream link to the meeting is posted at www.bernardsbo.com. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. One time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that's listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there's another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address, and each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once during a given public comment session. The first public comment session will be limited to 30 minutes, and the second will be unlimited. In order to run efficient meetings and to allow maximum opportunity for members of the public to speak, the board reserves the right to set a different time limit for individual comments and the overall time limit for the public comments portion of the agenda. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. Public comment on the agenda. No public comments will be accepted before 7 or after item 20. Public comment to the agenda ends. Please understand that public comment portions of our agendas are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board administration will respond to public comments to the extent possible. Any board responses to public comments will generally be addressed during board forum or committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they make may subject them to legal liability to the affected individual. If it's necessary for the board to go into exec session at the end of the meeting, we will provide an estimated length of time for the session and whether any action is anticipated to be taken upon returning to the public session. We did our flag salute in exec session, so can we have a roll call?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Chipok? Ms. Corrado?
Yes, here.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
That brings us to our student representative report. Joseph, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mrs. White. Good evening, everyone. It's been nearly a month since our last meeting, and as always, there's been plenty going on at Ridge, so I'll start with a quick rundown of our spring sports now that they're into the full swing of things. So both our boys and girls lacrosse teams have been battling hard and off to a strong start. The boys are 5-4 and riding a 3-game win streak, and in my opinion, they're looking sharper each time they step on the field. The girls are 2-1 in the Raritan division and building great momentum with a young squad as underclassmen are giving a lot of great contributions. On the track, our boys team hosted the Somerset County Relay Championships, beating Hillsborough, our arch rival, by over 30 points on April 5th, even though we were missing a serious amount of varsity athletes due to illness and injuries. And I'd say we were considered pretty heavy underdogs, and we've carried that momentum ever since, qualifying for the Penn Relays Championship of America Distance Medley Relay, which invites 15 of the fastest teams in the nation to compete. On the baseball diamond, our boys baseball team are 7-2, and they're ranked 14th in the state by NJ.com, and we just swept Rutgers Prep and Pingree in a doubleheader this weekend. Junior Jake Dolan is on fire, batting .500, which, if you're not familiar with baseball, is unheard of. For softball, the team is 6-3 overall and 5-2 within the conference, and they're playing with a lot of confidence and really coming together as a group. The boys' golf team is 7-1 and ranked 19th in the state. The girls are 6-1, and they've won 4 in a row and are undefeated in away matches. So in my opinion, it's safe to say Ridge is swinging pretty strong. As for the tennis courts, the boys are currently 3-4, and the team had tough down-to-the-wire losses this week against Del Barton and Montgomery, both decided by 3-2 scores, with tiebreakers making the difference in the final point. Despite that, Ridge is still ranked 12th in the state and ended the week strong with a win over Hillsborough. Outside of sports, our Hello Project is still going strong, and our administration has added something new, the topic of the week. This week's focus is happiness, and students received a list of 15 questions in their emails this morning to help spark meaningful conversations and reflections on what happiness means to them in school and home and just in life in general. Our counseling department continues to do an amazing job connecting students with professionals in various industries through the spring career rep visits. Tomorrow, we'll be hosting Miss G, a director at Merck & Company, and on April 29th, Mr. Colin McGivney, a senior associate at McGivney, Kluger, Clark, and Tosha. He will be visiting as well. And as I mentioned last meeting, these sessions have been just a fantastic way for students to explore different career paths and ask real-world questions. And the senior internship application just closed today as well. Additionally, the class of 2026 is running their parking spot raffle this week, and the lucky winners will get to park in the spots of Dr. Lazovic and 5 other administrators for a week or two, all to raise funds for the junior class and their prom. And our senior class did the same thing last year, and I do hope it becomes a tradition for years to come because students seem to really like it. The jazz band held their spring concert on April 2nd, and it was an awesome night showcasing a lot of talent and just the dedication of our musicians. And on April 16th, we hosted the Ridge Activities Fair for all of our middle schoolers in the new gym from 7 to 8, and rising freshmen had the chance to meet club advisors, sports coaches, and student leaders to get a feel for all the amazing opportunities that await them at Ridge. It was a very strong turnout and a great introduction for our school community. And the track team that same night also hosted the Night of Miles, having 700-plus athletes compete, and I can personally attest to the packed parking lot from both the Activities Fair and the Night of Miles that night. And lastly, the Ridge Dems Club hosted Nadine Sapirman, co-leader of the Raritan Valley chapter of the Citizens Climate Lobby, and she gave a powerful presentation on lobbying, bipartisanship, and the influence of grassroots efforts on climate policy, sparking some really thoughtful questions from students within the club. As always, it was a pleasure to present for you tonight, and I eagerly look forward to giving you more updates with sports and our school as the spring continues. So thank you.
Thanks, Joseph, and I also think you're a little bit too modest to say that I believe you did set a record this past weekend. Would you like to tell us what you did?
Sure. This past weekend, our track team went to East Stroudsburg University in Pennsylvania, and Jared Rascio broke the long jump record that had stood for multiple decades, and I also broke the 300 hurdle school record in a time of 39 seconds. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for everything you share with us. We are all going to go down now to sit in the audience and watch the performances.
Is that on? Yes? Okay, good. Thank you so much. We here at Cedar Hill, we are really excited to showcase our amazing choral department under the guidance of Taylor Curlew, and we will be singing the national anthem. We ask that you please rise.
Just wanted to say thank you so much for spotlighting our beautiful music, our gifted and talented students. I am so proud and honored to be a choral director in this district, and I mean, we put this together super quickly, and what, 3 rehearsals, just so proud of them. So thank you so much for having us, and yeah, budding musicians we have here.
Good evening. My name is Pam Lawrence. I'm the assistant principal at Liberty Corner School. And tonight I'm going to have Mrs. Ryan talk about our 5th grade Quest program and a fun project that they've been doing. But before I do that, I want to talk about more opportunities that Mrs. Ryan has brought to our school. She's our Quest teacher, and she started at the end of last year, and she enriches our school with meaningful experiences for all of our students. She is involved in our KFC program. Our KFC program stands for Kids for Character, and they are model 5th graders who show good character. And one of their responsibilities is to perform and create assemblies that teach our character education program. They also put on morning announcements. They record their announcements in the morning, and it's just a creative way to start the day off. Mrs. Ryan has also organized and brought STEM Day to our school, which is actually this week. Career Week is coming up next week, and she is also going to be the host of a coding mini unit in the spring. So there's a lot to look forward to, and we're so grateful that she brings the science, the technology, the engineering, and the mathematics to our school. So I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Ryan so she can have her Quest 5th grade students share a project that they're very proud to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lawrence. First off, let me just say how grateful I am to be a part of this district, to be a part of Liberty Corner. And Ms. Lawrence and Dr. Oliver are just outstanding leaders in our school. But speaking of outstanding leaders, I need to talk about the amazing 8 5th graders standing beside me up here today. If you could click to the next slide. These 5th graders have done a great job of choosing Type 3 community service projects that best align with Sustainable New Jersey, which is a resolution that the Board of Education actually passed in January of 2025. Sustainable New Jersey helps schools implement programs, initiatives like energy reduction, outdoor learning, and community engagement. I would love to keep talking about how amazing these 8 students are. We are a small but very mighty team, but I'm going to let them tell you how fantastic they are and what great work they've done in our school so far.
Hi, I'm Aubrey, and this past year, Austin and I worked on building a garden in front of our school. We wanted to make the school look more beautiful and also help the environment by planting flowers that support pollinators like bees and butterflies.
We learned which kinds of flowers could survive with very little care, especially during the hot summer when school is closed. We picked 4 strong flowers that could make it through the season on their own.
After that, we got the supplies and started organizing the garden. It was really cool seeing our design come to life, and it made us feel very proud to create something that students and teachers could enjoy every day.
One thing I learned is that even small changes, like adding a garden, can make a big difference in how space feels and how we treat our planet.
Hi, I'm Yajat. Kian and I worked together to design and hang up flyers for Animal Shelter Donation Drive. We wanted to encourage students and their families to donate and help animals in need.
Hi, my name is Kian Bhatia, and I'm a 5th grader at LCS. In the Quest program, my friend Yajat and I worked on flyers for the animal shelter. One thing I learned about graphic design is how much of an impact colors, layout, and spacing can have on whether people actually stop to read a flyer. If it's too crowded or dull, people might walk right by. We also learned how to create a QR code and added it to our flyer so people could easily scan it with their phones to get more information easily. It was cool to see how design choices can really change how people respond.
After we printed everything, we posted our flyers all over the school, in hallways, classrooms, and on bulletin boards. It was exciting to know that our designs could help spread kindness.
Hi, my name's Jinwoo, and if you scan the QR code on Yujot and Keon's flyers, it brings you to my website. I learned to use Google Sites to answer questions and give information for people wanting to donate to the drive.
Hi, I'm Matthew. With Cooper and Tyler, we have launched the Animal Donation Drive project. We wanted to get everyone in our school excited about helping animals.
We chose to support St. Hubert's Animal Shelter because it's a no-kill shelter. That means that it doesn't give up on an animal just because it hasn't been adopted right away. It keeps working to find them a loving home.
Did you know that 48% of the animal shelters in the United States are kill shelters? That really shocked us. We wanted to do something that helps the animals that helps them with care and respect, no matter how long it takes.
We also want to expand our projects by getting local businesses involved. The more people that donate to Drive, the bigger impact we can have for animals who really need it.
Working on this project taught us that when a group of people care about something and take action, it can really make a difference in the world.
Thank you guys so much. Take a bow, guys. Awesome.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Hosany. I'm the principal of Mount Prospect School. As part of the other elementary spotlight, you're going to hear from all 4 elementary schools. And so we've heard some chorus, we've seen some STEM, and we representing band and orchestra here at Mount Prospect School. Of course, it's in all 4 schools, but we have 14 of some of our 4th and 5th grade students under the direction of Kate Whiteley and Mrs. Kathy Kovaleski. They will be playing a small snippet of Spring by Vivaldi. So let's have a round of applause for our teachers.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to introduce some highlights from Oak Street School's production of 101 Dalmatians that will be airing on May 7th and 8th. So hope you'll join us, but if you can't, here's some highlights. And Jennifer Ramos, the director, will do a little further introductions.
Thank you so much for inviting us here. We have 3 small snippets from our show to present to you guys tonight, and I hope you enjoy.
Cruella, Cruella,
Dalmatians, and I hope everybody can come see the rest of the show if you enjoyed tonight. This is just a little part, but there's lots more with all of these and lots more Oak Street students. We hope to see you.
All right, a big thanks. How about one more round of applause for all the staff and students tonight? Thanks very much. We're going to take a quick minute. We'll have the board members head back up onto the stage, and we'll rearrange a little furniture. I want to thank everyone once again, and certainly if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you can, but I imagine some of these kiddos will be heading home, so we'll make a few minutes for that. Thanks again for coming tonight and supporting the kids.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you all to parents who came and the students who performed. We always love when we get to actually see what's going on in all the different schools. We are now up to the superintendent's report, so I will turn this over to Mr. Markarian.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. And just to echo Ms. White's comments, it's great to have our staff and students share a little bit about what they're doing in the schools and showcase some of the things that are being worked on. And a big shout out to our families who obviously helped with transportation and bringing kids out tonight, so that was really appreciated and very much enjoyed. So I just wanted to open tonight a little bit to talk about budget. As I explained in this week's SOS Express on the agenda tonight, we have to make some personnel arrangements to make our budget work for next year. It's always a challenge when you have to do something like this. Obviously, if you have been paying attention, you know that in our preliminary budget presentation, we talked about the need to reduce personnel expenditure by about $2.5 million. That's no small undertaking. It's been a long process to try to get to the point of making recommendations tonight to get there. Certainly not easy, but here we are. I wanted to give everybody a little bit of background just so that they understand that in many cases, people might not really understand how it works in public schools when you are making reductions in force, as they say, or reductions in staff. So you have to look at the certificates that the teaching staff have, and then within those teaching certificates, you have to consider non-tenured staff versus tenured staff. The statutes really describe how this process takes place. There's not any latitude in terms of how it works. Let's say, for example, the certificate is X, maybe it's in math, and people hold a teaching certificate in math. When you have to make reductions in math, first you have to look at the non-tenured staff. If you have no non-tenured staff to reduce, then you have to look at tenured staff. Tenured staff have what's called seniority, which basically means years of service, and those staff that have the least seniority or the least years of service have to be the ones that are let go first. Certainly nothing that anyone relishes, but as I said, in our case, we really needed to make reductions to get our budget to work. Something else that I think is important for people to understand is that it really has nothing to do with performance, right? These reductions have zero to do with performance. We can't obviously speak about individual staff members, as Ms. White explained in the statement of public notice, but I can say that these reductions are about reasons of economy in order to make the budget work, not about the performance or how we feel about how valued an individual may be. We value all of our employees, and we recognize how difficult this is, so we like to work with our staff, making sure they're well supported in their search for future employment by doing recommendations and other things to help support them to secure new employment. That being said, I think we're up to public comment.
Do we need to do, there are 2 items under superintendent's report, though.
Thank you.
Okay.
So 2 items under superintendent's report are the HIB report for this month and also the post-secondary report. This is a report that we have already reviewed the contents of in committee, and we're officially providing it to the board and public.
Can I get a motion? Ms. Marlary, Mr. Shaw, roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Malonic?
Yes.
Now we're up to public comment. So when you come forward, please sign in at the clipboard below and then state your name and address. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jamie Fiore Higgins, and I live at 64 Atlas Road. I have lived here for my entire life, and I have 4 children at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. I am commenting on a few positions that I have heard are being eliminated. I think it's a shame that this wasn't publicized in advance, so I'm going to speak on some of the ones I have heard about. Regarding the William Annan Middle School Choral Director, I cringe when I think about who you will choose to fill this gap. If you are intending to make the high school choral director fill this void, it's going to vastly affect the entire Ridge Choral program. Things like caroling, which the entire town loves, participation at Rockefeller Center, different choral festivals, and other opportunities, they may be eliminated. The Ridge Choir program won't be the same. This program has been instrumental in my high school sophomores' experience. It has created a mini community within the larger Ridge community that has given her encouragement, love, and support. This is a program that the district loves to brag about, and as a person who has lived here all her life, it's been a pillar of the community for the last 40 years. If you want it to continue in this manner, you cannot make these changes. Secondly, regarding the Cedar Hill School art teacher, the rumor is she's being replaced by another non-tenured teacher at the middle school who makes more money than she does, which makes no sense to me. As the superintendent just said, these decisions are based on reasons of economy. If this were strictly about money, the Cedar Hill teacher wouldn't be touched. It's bad enough that an art teacher at Annan is getting let go, causing those students to get upset. Why would you then move her and let go our teacher at Cedar Hill and upset all those additional kids? The Cedar Hill art teacher is a beloved part of our school. The kids adore her. I know you must make a tough decision, but if you were really thinking of the kids and really cared about them, you would keep the Cedar Hill art teacher in her place. Cedar Hill is busting at the seams. We are the ones that cause the specials drop schedule because we have so many kids. We deal with larger class sizes, and our special areas teachers get no preps, which the other elementary schools' special teachers have. To my knowledge, the other elementary schools are not being asked to let go of specials teachers. Why does Cedar Hill always bear the brunt of these situations? And finally, regarding RIFs in general, are there any at the administrative level? There should be. They're paid more than the teachers, and if the purpose of our school district is to serve the kids, we need to protect our teachers. These are the people who actually know our kids' names. These are the people who care about their emotional and social well-being. These are the people who make a difference each and every day. If you truly care about the kids, you will keep this in mind as you are making your headcount decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Higgins.
Hi, my name is Hannah Higgins. I live at 64 Atlas Road, and I'm a 4th grader at Cedar Hill School. Today, I want to first talk about our beloved art teacher at Cedar Hill. I started at Cedar Hill in 1st grade, and she's been my art teacher the entire time. She's an amazing teacher. She works so well with us kids, and anytime it's art, me and my friends love walking into the room and seeing her. Her directions are so clear that we can all understand her no matter what level of art we are at. When my friends hear that she's going to be fired, that we will all be so devastated. Also, I'm going to be a 5th grader next year, and I would hate to finish out elementary school with a different art teacher. I know I'm speaking for all the students when I say please, please, please let her stay. We really need her. The other thing I want to talk about is the elimination of 3rd grade orchestra and choir program. I remember when I was in 3rd grade and I was excited to learn strings and join chorus. It was an amazing experience to sing songs and play instruments with my friends. We learned so much from our teachers that year, and I'd feel so badly knowing that the next generation of 3rd graders might miss that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah.
Hi there. My name is Etta Marshall. I live at 38 Girard Avenue. I have a 7th grader at William Annan. I have a 4th grader at Cedar Hill. And I'm here to talk about the merits of the arts program as you all are making some tough decisions, as the superintendent spoke about. You all saw the amazing performances, so I don't think I could speak better than those, so thank you all for that. But I'll go ahead and try. I wanted to talk about my family's experiences. I've seen just off the charts dedication to all these arts programs, dedications to the programs and to these students. Starting with the elementary art, strings, band, and chorus programs, my children will look back on their elementary education and fondly identify where their love and passion began. It came from their Cedar Hill art, chorus, band, and music teachers. To my knowledge, over 50% of the students in grades 3 through 5 at Cedar Hill are in the chorus program. More than 30% are in band and 30% in orchestra. So I urge you to think about that when you think about cuts being made to such a widely attended program. Moving on to chorus and band programs in the middle school, both in school and perhaps more significantly the extracurricular. My 7th grader, I'll just share with you a little story if you don't mind. My 7th grader struggled socially in 6th grade, as many middle schoolers do. I kept reassuring him, you know, you'll find your people, give it time, middle school is tough, you'll find your people. As any parent would be, it was very stressful. He ended up in chamber choir. They went on a trip to Six Flags at the end of the school year, and he texted me from the bus on the way home and said, "Mom, I found my people." And I think that illustrates the importance of the music program, not just for learning chords and songs, but for finding their people. For the over 100 middle school students involved in Frozen, the musical, which is over 10% of the WAM students by my calculations, this opportunity to find your people is invaluable. In a world where parents and schools struggle to support the ever-growing mental health crisis, I think we can all agree that providing a place where kids find their people is a good start with lasting impact. The NIH report from 2019 that synthesized over 900 publications talked about how arts engagement can also help to reduce the risk of developing mental illness, such as depression in adolescence and in older age. Participating in arts activities can build self-esteem, self-acceptance, confidence, and self-worth. We have found that this opportunity exists in our township schools to provide a haven of protection from mental illness. How could we in good conscience take that away? Also, talking about cuts, what I do know is that when my son learned that all of his elective choices for 8th grade had been eliminated due to budget cuts, he said, "Mom, that makes no sense. They put new TVs in the cafeteria that show the weather and no one even looks at them." So we're both here to learn more about the actual line items, actually where budgets were cut from, and maybe could be cut from instead of these salaries of these teachers. But our question is, how can we continue to attract the best teachers across all subjects if we keep sending the message that shiny new weather TVs are more important than preserving the jobs of our passionate, devoted teachers? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall.
Hi, I'm Jen Shuckman. I'm at 174 Spencer Road, Basking Ridge. I have 2 children, one of which is out of the school system, but has worked her way through the entire school system here. And I have another one who's currently a junior at Ridge. They are both very, very involved in the music program. They have been involved in the music program all the way from elementary, middle, and high school. I can't begin to tell you the impact that the music programs have had on both of my kids. My daughter continued to pursue music in college. She actually heads a huge orchestra, a video game orchestra out at UC Davis. And she got that inspiration from being here in the school system with the amazing music teachers that we have. So I'm really, really worried about the cuts that are being proposed to the 3rd grade choir programs, string programs, things along those lines. There are a myriad of highly respected scientific studies showing that music has mental, physical, and emotional benefits. It reduces anxiety and depression, improves memory, and fosters creativity. I moved to Basking Ridge 11 years ago specifically because of the phenomenal music program and the high level of academics. Both of my children have been involved all the way through the music program, and I can't tell you how much it has meant to them and the incredibly positive effect it has had on them as individuals. It taught them discipline, empathy, creativity. They've developed intense, long-term friendships through the music community at school. They have found a sense of belonging, which was already spoken about. Music has served as a source of inspiration for them, and most of all, music has served to provide joy and comfort and a sense of balance during times of stress and anxiety. And I will tell you that this is a very stressful school system for many of our students. And so probably the single most important thing that I can convey here is that music is a community for so many of our students, hundreds of our students. It's a place where they can find balance in an otherwise very stressful environment. It's a place where they can find happiness. It's a place where they can calm their anxiety and reduce their mental stress. And I know that we all talk about, ways to reduce mental anxiety, but this is probably the single most important and easiest way to do it, is to keep the arts in our school systems all the way through. It makes no sense when we talk about mental awareness and trying to reduce anxiety and worrying about suicide or things like that. Why would we want to eliminate something that's proven to reduce anxiety and to give our students a sense of community and a sense of belonging? Imagine if music reduced anxiety, just the benefits of this to all the kids. even if it just helped prevent one child from getting into alcohol or drugs, or it prevented one child from becoming severely depressed, that's enough of a reason for me to want to say you should be keeping music at all levels. And if we eliminate music in 3rd grade, there's a trickle effect. It goes all the way through into the middle school, into the high school. We lose students, we lose kids who are gonna, foster that sense of belonging all the way through, that joy for music, that joy in the community, and our groups get smaller then as you move through. So it's super important.
Your time is up.
Okay, well, I think it's super important to keep all of that music in our elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shuckman.
Hi, my name is Paulina Shulechkovsky. I live at 76 Spencer Road. I'm a student at Ridge. I would like to begin by sharing a personal anecdote regarding my experience with the 3rd grade string program and orchestra overall. I was born into a very musical family. My father plays 4 instruments, and my mother was a folk dancer in her adolescence. In his preteen years, my brother sang at the Metropolitan Opera House. However, in my early years of childhood, I showed absolutely no inclination towards any genre in music, except perhaps very heavy rock. It seemed that music was not the path for me until one day in 3rd grade at Oak Street School. Our music conductor, Mrs. Kovalevsky, introduced us to the wonderful world of stringed instruments and offered us the opportunity to learn how to play one, and I chose the violin. My mom watched with amusement as I would clumsily pluck at the strings to produce a very questionable rendition of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. She did not expect much to come out of this plucking, thinking she would have to return my rental violin within the year due to my supposed lack of interest. On the contrary, she had to buy another one so that I would have one for practicing at home and school and one for performing. 9 years later, I have not stopped playing the violin. Throughout elementary, middle, and high school, I have been part of every core string program available, from Oak Street Chamber to Wham's Philharmonia to finally Ridge Symphony Orchestra. The fact that there was such a program at every step of the way made the transfer process from school to school so much more comfortable. I will admit that there are people who have discarded their string instruments, perhaps even within the first year of learning how to play. But what is vital is that they were given the opportunity to learn as early as possible. They were given this opportunity at a time when they still had time to learn. In fact, this is one of the many reasons that families move into this district and pay higher taxes. They do so with the belief that their children will receive countless opportunities and the best education possible. Some of these families cannot afford music education outside of school. Early exposure to the beautiful, diverse world of orchestra broadens students' horizons, enriches their education experience, teaches them the value of discipline and teamwork, helps them overcome the inescapable trials of stage fright, and provides them with a way to express themselves and their emotions in a unique way. In my opinion, the strings program should be introduced even earlier than it is rather than later. In a world where time is of the essence, where it seems as if the time to learn, grow, develop, change is ever shrinking, you should not be limiting your future students' potentials. You should not be sacrificing the 3rd grade strings program when budget cuts could be made elsewhere, such as on the unnecessary TV screens located throughout the building, at Ridge as well, not just at Wham's, that mainly serve to inform us what rotation day it is, or an updated teacher's lounge. I hope you will take notice of my plea to save the 3rd grade strings program and all music programs, and to provide the future generations of students at this district the same amazing opportunity that I was offered. Thank you.
Thank you for your passionate comments.
I'll just hold this. Hello, my name is Benjamin Hughes, and I'm in the 5th grade at Liberty Corner School. I love to sing, and I try to participate in as much musical activity as possible. I've been doing choir and orchestra at my school since I was in 3rd grade. It makes me oh so sad to think that the upcoming 3rd grade students will not be able to play in the orchestra or sing in the choir. Something that when I was going to 3rd grade, I was so excited to do. That program has been around since my mom was a student in Basking Ridge. My mom! What does it say about this school district that the district is willing to get rid of programs that have changed people's lives and have been around forever? Thank you for having, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Hi, my name is Lillian Ferrer. My address is 445 Mount Airy Road. I'm a student at Wham's in 7th grade. I've done the Wham's show both of my years here. The arts and theater programs here mean so much to me. I know for many students, they rely on theater and arts programs to make friends, meet new people, and find a community they feel appreciated in. In addition, I know that for some kids, they rely on programs like theater or dance as their only after-school activity. For me, theater means so much. It's a space where I've met so many new people, learned so many new things like proper vocal techniques, dance moves, and more. I have concerns about budget cuts to things like the arts programs and the effect that it will have on theater and music programs. I also am concerned about the effect it will have on the teachers who love and support these programs. Art, theater, music, dance, and other programs are what make WHAMs WHAMs. They're what make WHAMs unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. Hello, everyone. I'm Cole Marshall from 38 Girard Avenue, Basking Ridge, a student at Willie Manning Middle School, and I truly believe that our school district thrives because of music and the arts. These programs aren't just electives or extracurriculars, they're essential. They shape who we are, help us find our place, and give us confidence to keep moving forward every day. I've been a part of music programs since elementary school, and I can honestly say that they've changed my life. My Cedar Hill chorus teacher, who directed chorus, you saw perform earlier tonight, is one of the most inspiring teachers I've ever had. She brought me so much joy and encouragement at every choir rehearsal, and singing in the morning with her wasn't just fun, it gave me a sense of belonging. I also loved learning from the Cedar Hill orchestra teacher in 3rd grade, and witnessing her battle against Zoom during COVID really taught me the basics, and I thought that was really essential to what I do right now. My Cedar Hill band teacher had this amazing way of making instruments feel exciting and approachable, even when it was hard. She taught us to play with confidence and to enjoy every step of the process. These teachers didn't just teach music, they built communities. They helped us find our voices, literally and figuratively. And when I moved into middle school, this sense of community became even more important. Like lots of students, I wasn't socially confident coming into 6th grade, but music gave me direction. I joined choir and band again, and later chamber choir and wind ensemble, groups that pushed me to grow and connected me with the people that share my passion. Chamber choir was like one big family to me, and this year I really couldn't ask for a better chorus teacher. Without her, I don't know what would happen to our phenomenal community. In 7th grade, I joined the cast of Frozen and was blown away. The acting teacher, the chorus teacher, and the dance teacher made us feel like professionals and were caring and supportive beyond description. This process brought us together and gave us something bigger than ourselves to be proud of. Our performances were truly gratifying for me and the rest of the cast. And that's the point. Music and the arts creates magic. They lift us up, every student up, whether they realize it or not. It helps us feel seen, capable, and valued. When we don't support arts education, we risk so much more than lost performances. We risk students losing their confidence, their creative spark, the spaces where they truly come alive, and their future. These programs helped me find myself. They gave me the courage to speak, perform, stand here today, and believe that I have something worth sharing with the world. I know money doesn't grow on trees, but I do know that most of the students from K-12 across our town have stories just like mine. So let's make sure these opportunities stay alive for every student who hasn't found their voice yet. Thank you. Thank you, Cole.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Schuckman. I'm a junior at Ridge High School, and I live at 174 Spencer Road. Currently, I'm a double bass player in the Ridge Symphony Orchestra. I'm the principal double bass player. I'm also an officer that leads the Ridge High School Triumph Music Honor Society and represents over 80 of the most passionate music students at Ridge High School throughout the choir, band, and orchestra programs. Currently, I perform in all 3 band, choir, and orchestra programs at Ridge High School. Outside of school, I perform in the New York Youth Symphony, one of the most prestigious youth symphonies across the country, and will pursue double bass in college and professionally afterwards. Therefore, music means a big part of my life. However, it didn't start from nowhere. Though my family was somewhat musical, the 3rd grade string program established my love for music at a very young age. Therefore, I asked you to clarify how eliminating the 3rd grade string program helps solve the budget problem that the Burns Township is in. I failed to recognize how eliminating the program without any staff reductions or budget reductions regarding the program helps the budget crisis since the program materials will be still needed for the 4th and 5th grade string program. Additionally, by eliminating the program, it will reduce the high quality of music that we promote at Ridge High School in the orchestra, band, and choir programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Hi everyone, my name is Sanjana Murali and I live at 22 Hampton Court. And I have been part of the Bernards Township Orchestra program since I was in 3rd grade and I picked up a viola. And since that moment I knew that music was my first love and is my forever love. So honestly, I don't come from a very musical family and we don't have a strong background in really any type of music, and I was probably the first one to exhibit any sign of musical inclination. And the 3rd grade string program was probably one of the first and most impactful ways that I was able to grow and develop my skill as a musician and find other like-minded people who loved music just as much as I did. And honestly, 3rd grade strings is something so impactful because it helped set up that whole community that went together all the way through middle school, through Wham's Philharmonic, all the way till Ridge High School Chamber and Symphony Orchestras. We formed such an amazing bond, and truly one of the most magical things about my entire school experience in Bernards Township has been watching the culture in all the orchestra rooms that I've gone through. Us eating lunch together, us having rehearsal together, jamming together, all of us having fun, being able to explore ourselves through music and connect with others through music. So this year, I had the wonderful opportunity to manage the pit orchestra of Ridge High School, and wholeheartedly I can say that music gave me that one first opportunity to be a leader, learn how to connect with people, and also develop the ability to just focus on who I am rather than worrying about what anyone else thinks about me. And truly, the music program here is one of the best parts about living in this town. I know other schools have their own music programs, but truly, this town is known for having one of the strongest. And I know that's one of the reasons that my parents and I still talk about today, that we stay in this district, because the music program is so amazing, despite all the academic stress that still exists here. So, specifically 3rd grade strings, it would seem that cutting just one grade level wouldn't really have much of an impact. But truly, like many before me today mentioned, it does have a trickle effect into the middle school and high school orchestras. And in addition, having orchestra and chorus as well made available at the same time as band, in a way limits the students' ability to explore and gives them slightly more pressure to choose one of the 3 options in 1 year. And allowing the students to explore strings in 3rd grade first, even if they decide to choose other areas like band or chorus as a 4th grader, still allows them to connect with music at an earlier age and allows them to experience the benefits of playing an instrument, learn the virtues of patience, dedication, and overall develop their love for music. So overall, I think that the 3rd grade string program is so important because it just sets up that amazing community for us as we go forward through our school experience and becomes such an integral part of our experience going through this district. And I think that if we're going to make any other budget cuts, that should be one of the last things to go due to all the benefits that it provides us, finding our sense of self as well as our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon.
I'm not as familiar with the microphones as they are. Barbara Gary, 66 Dryden Road. I will begin by saying this is not personal when I mention job titles and does not reflect the individual. I was expecting the administration and the board to use the $4.4 million shortfall and restructure the administration side of our district. When companies have financial troubles, the last people they want to affect are those with direct access to our clients and change the services that the clients receive. Obviously, the students are the clients. Instead of restructuring the administration side, such as reconfiguring the 2 assistant superintendent positions, combining supervisor roles, secretarial jobs, and eliminating the instructional coaching team, which may benefit our teacher, it should not outweigh having smaller classes for our 6th to 12th graders and eliminating the flexibility in the master schedule for our high school students. The SOS did not address the changes in the 8th grade class cycles, such as removing photography, creative writing, TED Talks, concert choir, and full-year woods. Removing these class options but keeping a full-time drama teacher on staff at the high school does not benefit the majority. Most districts have a drama director for the high school play, saving a district salary and benefits. What is the number of students who take the drama class at the high school that are not already involved in the theater program compared to the number of students who had planned on taking the eliminated cycles? What analysis of students and classes went into these decisions? I know year-long Woods has historically been in demand. Also in demand are math classes at the high school, which will have 2 fewer teachers next year, so they will have significantly more students per class. A couple of years ago, there was a proposal to combine the assistant principal role at the elementary level, which would have saved the district significant money, along with being a pilot program for its feasibility. Instead, you listened to those who yelled the loudest, forcing an assistant principal from the high school to juggle a middle school grade and the 12th graders. The workload wasn't distributed properly, and this failed. The 7th graders went without an assistant principal. The workload was distributed to the 2 assistant principals at WAMS. Is that more feasible position to have 2 assistant principals at WAMS versus 3? How would that impact the students and teachers? Does each grade level 6 through 12 need an assistant principal? Could a supervisor with a part-time classwork load also work? Did any consideration go into reconstructing our top-heavy school district? Everyone knows a top-heavy organization will topple over. Your choices to eliminate teaching staff, increase class sizes, and reduce class options are miscalculated decisions that do not address the issues that directly affect the students, your clients. This solves this year's budget issue without considering a sustainable solution for the future. We will have budget issues moving forward. You cannot continually do staff reductions, larger class sizes, and exceeding the 2% budget cap. That is not sustainable. I'm asking the board to advise the administration to resolve the budget gap with a sustainable plan that will impact our teachers and students the least, and therefore reject item 1 on the personnel report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Geary.
Hi, my name is Madeline Bellard, and I'm a graduate of Ridge High School, class of 2015. I live at 529 West 25th Street in Houston, Texas, and just happened to be here for this critical meeting. I'm not speaking to you today as a student, faculty member, or parent, but as someone whose life was fundamentally shaped by Ridge's art department, an art department since 3rd grade when I entered the education system here. Since graduating, I've built a career in marketing. Creativity is a core of everything that I do, and that creative foundation was built in the photography classrooms at Ridge, nurtured by the teachers who believed in me and helped me grow. The arts are not extracurricular, they are essential, and they are just as critical to our students' future success as STEM and core curriculum subjects. And beyond career preparation, the arts offer something even more urgent, a lifeline. During my sophomore year, I struggled with a debilitating anxiety disorder that kept me out of school for weeks. The only reason I was able to return to Ridge and stay was my photography class. It was my one safe place at Ridge where I could create, decompress, succeed academically, and experience a sense of accomplishment when everything else felt overwhelming. This is not unique to me. Arts classrooms are safe places for countless students navigating the pressures of adolescence. They are where students process their stress, find their voice, and build self-confidence. To cut the art department staff in half at Ridge, reducing it from 8 educators to 4, is not a neutral budget decision. It is a profound loss of student support and access. Let me be clear, I'm not suggesting that our art teachers should shoulder the role of mental health professionals, but I am saying that their classrooms often function as a stabilizing force for students who are quietly struggling. And that matters when making decisions about faculty at Ridge. Honestly, I'm deeply disappointed as an alumni to learn that dedicated teachers are being let go or reassigned across the district as a result of these decisions. These are individuals who have invested their careers into guiding students who, like myself, are forever impacted by their mentorship and expertise. Seeing their commitment met with uncertainty or dismissal is a step in the wrong direction for Ridge. We cannot expect the remaining teachers to absorb doubled workloads, manage bloated class sizes, and continue delivering the same quality of instruction and individualized support. That expectation is not only unrealistic, it's irresponsible. And so I ask, at what point do we stop cutting the arts? When the last program is gone, when the last teacher is let go, the arts are often the first on the chopping block, but they should be the last, because what we lose with each cut is not just a class. We lose a support system, a creative outlet, and in many cases, a student's reason to show up at all. I understand the financial challenges the district is facing, but I urge you to look elsewhere for your solutions. Your students and their futures depend on it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone and board members. My name is Hyung Chol Sung. I lived in 13 Battalion Drive, Basking Ridge. I have 7th grader in William and Middle School and 1st grader in Mount Prospect School. Both of them are members of orchestra. Playing in orchestra is the most favorite part of their life. And I'm here today not only as a parent, but as someone who deeply values the role of the music in education. I was saddened to hear about the budget cuts affecting our school orchestra program. Music is not just an extracurricular activity, it's an important part of a well-rounded education. So the orchestra teaches our children discipline, teamwork, creativity. These are what we want to encourage for our kids. I have confidence they've gained by performing the apprenticeships they made and the joy they feel after the successful concert. So I would respectfully ask you to find another way to preserve the 3rd grade orchestra program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm just going to interject for 1 minute because we're getting very close to the 30 minutes of the first public comment, but I want to make sure that all the students who are here get to speak. We will be able to come back. We've got other business to do, but then you'll be able to speak again at the second public comment. But I do want to get to the students because I know some of them may need to leave and get home and get work done. So can we ask that the students who would like to speak come down, and then we'll move on, and then after we finish, we'll get to the second public comment, and the rest of you will be able to make statements.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Yeraf Shath, and I live on 40 Kinder Drive. I'm an 8th grader at William and Middle School, and I'm standing here because I believe that our high, middle, and elementary school classes, as well as extracurriculars, are more than just periods on a schedule. They're where we discover our passions and what we love to do. As someone who loves the art department, and especially the teachers, I am truly frightened that the students ahead of me won't have the chance to really explore and express themselves if the teachers and classes are cut out. If we lose classes, we lose opportunities. We lose the chance to reach that one student who might find their passion in a class that almost didn't exist before. If we lose teachers, we lose guidance, experience, and hope to maybe one day pursue something we never thought we would have pursued otherwise. In my 3 years at WAMS, my teachers like my 8th grade language arts teacher, my 8th grade science teacher, my chorus teacher, dance teacher, musical director, art teachers, and Spanish teachers, and so many others have shaped the way I view the world and have helped me grow so much. As a part of the WAMS Frozen play, I absolutely love acting, singing, and dancing and art, and my teachers are such an inspiration to me. Taking away these classes would destroy so many students' passions and restrict their talents. One of our own previous students was an orchestra player before she found the William and Middle School musical theater program, where she found her passion for theater and the WAMS musical Mulan. Now she's in her 20s and is starring in multiple Broadway shows, as well as has built a large name for herself. Still today, she credits William Manning for starting her passion. Cutting back isn't about removing classes or reducing costs. It's about limiting our own futures. It's about telling students that their dreams aren't worth the investment, and I refuse to believe that that's who we are. We have a choice tonight, a choice to stand up for our students, for our teachers, and for our community's future. Let's fight to keep every class open and all of our teachers with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nora Hughes. I live at 434 Lyons Road. I'm in 8th grade at William Manning. I've been a part of the music programs in our district since 3rd grade. My favorite part of choir has always been the Fall into Choir Night held at Ridge each year, where I've gotten to meet so many people and make so many new friends and meet all of the music teachers from each school. The teachers at the schools give their students a place to be themselves, and that is the most important thing for any student. I was very disappointed to learn that music and the arts in general are being cut back. I think it is unfair to the younger grades of kids who are looking forward to those things, and now they won't have the opportunity to participate. To learn that our district will no longer have a music and fine arts supervisor after this school year was very interesting to learn and shows people how much you don't care about the arts in our district. I understand that our district has to make cuts, but I think that there are other things that could be cut back on. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Norm.
Hi, my name is Naomi Lynn. I'm an 8th grader at WAMS. I've been in the arts for the past 5 years. I've been in orchestra since 3rd grade and choir since 5th, and this year I've gotten the chance to be in the latter two, as well as chamber choir, concert choir, and our latest play, Frozen. These classes have been such an amazing experience for me, with most of my best memories and some of my closest friends being from these classes. The wonderfully fun and accepting communities made by these programs are only made possible by the amazing teachers. When my 6th and 7th choir teacher, who always made me and everyone else in the choir feel loved and accepted, left to teach at another school, I was worried the community and the feeling of acceptance the choir brought to me and many other people would be ruined. But when our current choir teacher came, she only built us up as a stronger community. As well as this, the play was one of the best experiences in my 8th grade year, and it was really fun, and it was widely loved by many others as well. 3 sold-out nights proved that. And I've auditioned for the play before. I didn't get in last year, but this year I got in, and it helped me discover my passion for acting and dancing, as well as my passion for singing. And to think that the younger grades won't get the same experience with the teachers being cut makes me deeply troubled. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Emily Grove, and my address is 53 Lurline Drive. I'm in 7th grade and have been attending William Mannon for 2 years now. Over those 2 years, I have fallen in love with all of the arts programs provided here. I would like to specifically mention the Drama Club and the Woodshop programs. When I came to this school last year, I did not know who I was or who I wanted to be. When time came around to sign up for the Drama Club, I knew that's what I wanted. From there, I only fell in love with it more. The Drama Club gave me an overwhelming sense of community that I'd never felt before. It made me feel like I belonged to something bigger than myself. I wish any and all new students attending William Mannon could feel that same community through this program, but I fear that will not be the same if we lose funding and teachers who have made it all possible. I feel equally as strong for woodworking. I have been looking forward to a year-long advanced woodworking elective provided to 8th grade students for the past few years, which due to recent budget cuts has been removed. This is such an outstanding program here that it greatly stands out from other schools. The idea of having that taken away from us as a school and as a student makes me feel that this school, which once stood out for the amazing programs provided, will lose much of what sets our school apart from other schools in other districts. To lose any program, no matter how big or small, would greatly impact the importance of this school and the overall morale of all students at this school. I hope you see how important these programs are to me and all of the students here. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Ellie Pate. I live at 45 Dryden Road, and I am an 8th grader here at WAMS. And I've been involved in the performing arts program for the past 3 years. I don't have a music family, but I have found my passion for playing music and singing through school since I could write. I moved here in 5th grade, and my previous school didn't have the strongest music program. And I am so grateful to have the opportunity to be in this amazing community. Having a strong music program is key to sparking passion. Music gave me a sense of belonging. I, like many others, love to act, dance, and sing. The teachers that have guided me through these programs are fantastic and have helped me lots through the years. I thank my voice coach, my band teachers, my art teachers, and my choir teachers. These teachers, I know, love what they do. They spark passion in young minds, and they help to grow us as people. Many others love these educators and programs, such as art, choir, band, orchestra, dance, and drama. Just think, there are dozens of young minds and hearts who are passionate about these programs. such as the elementary performances earlier in this meeting. I know that the people would be devastated to see them go. We thrive on our art programs, and it brings lots of joy to people. The choral director at WAMS has worked so hard this past year. She's doing an amazing job, and all of the students love her. And I know that many fellow students would love to have her for another year and for more years to come. Although she doesn't have 10 years of experience, she's working really hard, and everyone needs to start somewhere. She's doing a fantastic job. I hope that we keep the performing arts program strong. Thank you for listening, and we hope you recognize the talent and passion us students have.
Thanks, Ellie. Are there any other students that are here to speak? Because we're going to close public comment for the first session since we've hit the 30 minutes. And then you'll be able to come back for the second public comment.
I just want to ask if you're going to vote before the second public comment, because I would really like the chance to speak if you are. I won't even be 3 minutes.
We are going to be voting on
So
items.
can I just please, my name is Kara Cooper, I'm from Mayflower Drive. I just am trying to make heads and tails of this agenda. I've only been here for 5 years. I'm trying to follow along as best I can. I remember that, I just want to obviously discuss the Personnel Committee report. If you're going to be voting on how you're reorganizing this for our budget, I really would like you to vote no and reorganize it differently. I remember a finance guy on the committee and a lot of finance people, on the board here have been talking about cutting administrators. That was horrible at the time. I think cutting staff and teachers is even more horrible, and I would like to keep our class sizes smaller. I would like you to please vote no on this and go back to the drawing boards and reorganize it in a different way. You have 7 positions cut in special education. You have a beautiful, thriving arts program being cut. I don't understand how any of this makes sense. You're a board full of teachers, and you're trying to cut teachers. I think you need to think about this differently. Perhaps cut administrators. I don't know. It's a horrible situation either way. I urge you to please vote no and think it over again.
Can I ask anybody who, I know you may have signed in, but just if you haven't signed in for the students, can you just sign in on the clipboard? Thank you. All right, we are up to the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion? Mr. Shaw, Mr. Molinari, and roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
Okay, so thanks for the public comment. We certainly appreciate everything that some of our residents and students shared. I just wanted to highlight a couple things from the agenda itself. You know, you can't reduce your expenses by $2.5 million and not have an impact. So I really appreciate that people are noticing it, because that is the reality. Right? It's not possible to have a $4 million budget deficit and expect to close that gap without having a noticeable impact. If you recall last year, we were able to create a significant savings for many years to come by restructuring our school start times and by restructuring how we were doing transportation. That was the last significant non-personnel adjustment that we can think to make. When it comes to a school budget, it is, as someone pointed out, vastly based on providing services for people in the form of teachers and other staff, right? So our budget is 75%-ish related to our staffing and the benefits for those staff. So when you need to make a significant budget cut, you're trying to do everything you can with your non-salary accounts, but you get to the point where there are limits and you're left with salary accounts, and that's where we are. In terms of some of the comments, I do want to point out that we have had declining enrollment over the last several years. That enrollment decline is roughly 1,000 students from our high water mark. That gives us some room to make adjustments without having unreasonable class sizes. And therefore, that's why you see the ability to do this with some positions. Other folks noted administration. We are reducing administration by 2 certificated administrators in this agenda item. We also have an administrative assistant that is not being replaced. So there are adjustments to administration. There was a question about job coaching. We're reducing the number of instructional coaches from 2 down to 1. So there's a lot of things involved here that are not strictly about the music program. Notably, there is 1 music position listed in this reduction in force. So understandably, I certainly appreciate the passion. I appreciate the passion of the students. I need to emphasize that when you've got $2.5 million in staff, 33.1 full-time equivalents, there's going to be an impact. It's impossible to avoid. We're trying to do the best we can to minimize that impact, and this is where it comes down to. So I appreciate the passion. I thank you for the support of the programs and staff. A lot of thought has gone into trying to minimize the impact and not have increases in class sizes in places that we don't want to see, like in elementary general education classes. We are protecting those class sizes. We're looking at a lot of things that some of the students mentioned were related to electives, and I can appreciate the fact that there's a little confusion because you see reductions and you don't always know, like, well, what's caused by what, right? Every year, even if you have no reductions, you're going to have some classes that run and some classes that don't run, and sometimes that's just a function of what students are choosing when they're putting in their requests. You also have adjustments that get made from year to year in order to try to make the schedule work better. So some changes are simply about making the schedule work and having flexibility in the schedule, and they have nothing to do with reductions in staff. So there's a lot that goes on every year, and I can appreciate that it can be a little unclear as to what's caused by what, but in terms of the music program, it's 1 staff person on this agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. We are up to finance, and I don't believe that there's a report.
No report this week. We have a meeting coming up. So.
Okay, there are, how many items? 15 items, is that correct?
Yeah, so just for the items on the list for finance this week, they're pretty standard. Most of them are annual. Any of the ones that aren't annual are all very small. So.
Okay. So can I get a motion? Robin, Mike, and roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
That brings us to personnel. We have a report.
Sure. The Personnel Committee minutes are actually from 2 different meetings, March 6th and 21st. The majority of the discussions at those 2 personnel meetings were about staffing issues that I cannot report out and negotiations with the teachers union. There is one item I can report out on. So the committee listened to a recommendation to create a stipend for a fitness center coordinator at Ridge High School. Right now, the fitness center is being staffed by various different staff members. This coordinator would add consistency and be able to oversee more individualized plans for athletes. So the committee supports this recommendation. It would be a small cost savings from how we're doing it now, and we think it would provide more consistency in the fitness center. And that's it.
There are 18 items. May I get a motion? Robin, Janice and Brett, anybody have any comments that they want to make?
Just to expand on that a little bit, along with the savings, the anticipation is not just for student athletes to be able to access the fitness center, but it is for all the students through increased supervisor hours at the center, as well as I believe there's some kind of fitness tracking app that they're looking to implement as well. So trying to expand the opportunities there for students to utilize it as a student body as a whole and not just the student athletes.
Anyone else?
Can I comment now on some of the staff reductions? Is that okay? Okay. So first, I just wanted to say I agree with everyone that was speaking out today. I think it was great that you spoke out. This also impacts my family as well. My first grader will be devastated when she can't do chorus in a couple of years. I saw this train coming down the track a few years ago, which is why I decided to run for the board. I saw that costs were going up greater than our revenue was, and I knew this was coming. And that's why I started to speak out in the first place. My goal has always been to try to cut everything that won't impact the students. That's been the goal, I think, of the whole board, was to try to find whatever we can cut. That's why we did buses. That's why we looked at so many different areas, whether it was instructional aids or technology, and we've cut all those things. We've taken it to the bare bones. So now we're at a wall, and the question is, what do we do next? And the problem is, we can only raise revenue so much. There's limits to that. So now we have to make very tough decisions. And the administration went through all the different scenarios that you're talking about. They went through it line by line, employee by employee, and they made tough decisions, and they came to us with what they think is the best solution. It is not great. I am not happy with it, but it is where we are. What I want to make clear, though, is the problem is, even with these cuts, this doesn't go away. Next year, costs are going up greater than revenues. This is going to continue to be a problem. So what I encourage everyone out here to do is keep speaking out, keep coming here, come to us with ideas. If you have ways that we can cut costs, come up here and tell us about it. Call us, send us emails, because we're going to have trouble next year, the year after. I encourage you, run for the board. If you have ideas, we're happy to get those ideas. But I know this has been a tough decision and it's a tough vote, but thank you for being here.
Janice?
I agree. Thank you for coming out tonight and speaking. It's important that we all get to hear from you, students and parents and other community members. I do want to put this in some perspective, though. This is not just a Bernards Township situation. This is going on throughout the state of New Jersey. And there are schools in the southern part of the state that are closing complete schools. They are selling buildings. This is a problem that is very severe. And I have faith in our administration and in our teachers and in the community that we can work together to try to make the best decisions that we can. Sometimes those decisions are very tough decisions. As Dave said, none of us is happy. No one here is happy to do these kinds of changes, but we need to face the reality of the budget situation, and we're trying to make decisions that affect the least number of students that is possible. So we please, understand. We appreciate your support, but we need to deal with the situation at hand.
So I don't know if I can really add on to anything that Mr. Shaw and Ms. Corrado already said, but yeah, I have two children in school as well, 4th grade and 7th grade. My 7th grader thinks I am solely responsible for her not being able to have her 2 top electives next year. So we hear it everywhere. And it's also great that I hear it from my kids, but I hear it from the students down here in the front, everyone else that spoke, everyone that sent emails to the board, voicing their concerns. It is awesome that we have an engaged community that is really invested in our schools. Decisions are really tough here. I don't think anyone on this board really wants to cut anyone's positions, whether it be teachers, administrators, programs, whatever it is. I do want to say that it wasn't made in a vacuum, these decisions. When this was brought to us through the various committees, the administration had already gone to each school and the supervisors to see what would have the least impact on their schools and their classes. So this wasn't made in a void. This is made with a lot of input, a lot of thought over months. It is not a shotgun approach to trying to fill a budget gap here. Everything was on the table and reviewed, and this is not a great outcome, but really the best one that has the least impact on the students.
I'll be brief because I agree with what Dave, Brett, and Janice said. I also agree with a lot of the speakers. I was very vocal a couple of years ago about trying to get our costs in line, and as Dave said, this was something that we saw coming, and it is tough to do. But in this case, the administration has been very thorough. They didn't focus on one area. It wasn't just arts. There's cuts in administration, there's cuts in special ed, there's cuts in general ed, there's cuts in academic, or class sizes are going up. I think to a lot of people, they feel the impact that directly impacts them, but the administration was very careful to see where the least amount of impact would be, even though when it impacts you directly, I understand, and everybody here I think understands, it's tough, but I think, as Dave said, if there are suggestions on what to cut, I think there's always room, and there will be more cuts coming next year and the year after. So I think we do have to find a way to be more efficient and have the least impact on our students, because that's what everybody here is trying to maintain. I think there was some comment made that if the board or the administration cared about students, then X or Y. I can say that's probably not worded the best, because I think that's the only consideration that everybody is having in making these difficult decisions.
Thank you. I'm not just going to echo, but I want to add to what my colleagues have set up here. First of all, other school districts are going through the same thing, and I believe it was Middletown had to close some schools altogether. So it's all over the state. Nothing was going to completely alleviate what's coming down right now. But I've said this along with Mr. Amin 2 years ago. I do believe that proper and very diligent personnel management could have alleviated some of this over the years. Our district has shrunk. Mr. Markarian mentioned that. When a district shrinks, I think when you have positions that you need to backfill when people leave or retire, it's really incumbent upon us to look closely whether those positions have to be backfilled with a shrinking district. Because as we're finding out right now, it's much easier not to fill an open position than it is to let somebody go. Nobody wants to do that. But there we are. There are certain things that are driving our costs that we're bound by law that we can't do anything about. Health insurance. You have to pay your people. People have to get raises. I think we have to pay our people well, but we have to make sure we have the right amount of people to do the job. Also, as a district gets smaller, as we have, we're going to inherently have less offerings. I mean, third grade strings is an example, eighth grade photography. It doesn't mean that overall quality of the district is lessening. What it means is we have to focus on what we are keeping and make sure that continues the excellence that we've always had here. We may not have the complete diner's menu anymore, but what we still have on the menu is going to be very good. So we have to keep that in mind, and it is true, we're going to run up into this in future years as well. So we want to look, in my view, we want to look very closely when somebody retires or leaves a district, whether we want to backfill that position. We had this discussion 2 years ago, and there was a lot of, let's say, heated back and forth about whether certain, and it was at the time, administrative positions should be filled. Well, now we are where we are, and it's not a matter of not backfilling, it's a matter of reducing in force. So let's keep that in mind next time that we have these discussions about whether we should backfill a position. And again, it wouldn't have alleviated what came down right now, but it might have eased it a little bit.
I just want to say first, I really appreciate everybody coming here today, especially the students. I know it's late for you guys. Realize we are listening to what you say. It's just because we're not responding, it doesn't mean we're ignoring you guys. But I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone else said, but I'm a school teacher, and my district is going through the same thing. It's all over the state. That prices are going up, so we have to make cuts, and it's really a difficult decision. You know, my daughter is not happy with me particularly. She blames, she's in 7th grade, she didn't get her first choice for electives. She thinks it's my fault personally. But, you know, I think it's important that what we do is we try to make cuts that will have the least impact. And unfortunately, you know, this is going to be a problem for years. I don't see prices coming down, and I think, you know, it's important that everybody does come out and give us their ideas, and we do listen and we do take into consideration. But, you know, we try to do what will be the best for the district. And unfortunately, you know, we've had to do cuts, and I know it's not easy decisions. We don't like doing it, but there's just sometimes not a huge amount of options. But thank you.
Do you want to say anything? Before we vote, I just want to say, we've heard everything that you said, and I just want you to know that this is very painful to all of us, too. As somebody who has had 4 children, and I've been here a long time, and I've had programs cut, programs come back, programs cut, programs come back. My kids have had different things. I totally understand where you're coming from. I also am a huge, huge, huge proponent of the arts because it is something that is very important in my household. But I also recognize that we have a $2.5 million shortfall. And when we asked the administration to figure out the best way to come up with this, one of the things we asked was spread it out so that it's not just one area. And I'm very appreciative that that's what they did. So there are cuts in administration, there are cuts to teachers, there are cuts at all 4 elementary schools, there are cuts to special education, there are cuts to gen education, there's cuts at WAMS, there are cuts at Ridge. It's not just one building. We're all feeling the pain. But in my opinion, that's the way it needed to be, as opposed to just saying only one school is going to be hit. And I'm sure as a parent, when you're thinking about what's being cut from your school, you're passionate about that because that is what affects you the most. But we have to look at everything, every program, gen ed, special education, preschool through 12th grade. And we have to make the hard decisions because ultimately we need to ensure that our students are getting the very best possible education. And we also need to ensure that our talented, extremely dedicated teachers have as much tools that they possibly need to teach our kids with all these cuts that we've had to make. And I have no doubt that they will be able to do that because we do have the best of the best in this district. And that does not mean that we're happy. It doesn't mean that we don't have concerns. It doesn't mean that we don't share the same worries as you. But this is where we are. We have no control about the state aid. We got less state aid. Guess what? We're probably going to get less state aid next year. We have no control about the rising costs of insurance. We just have to take that hit and figure it out. So keeping that in mind, we've come up with what we hope is going to have the least impact on the students. Does that mean that there are going to be some kids that are sad because there's some programs that they can't have? Absolutely. Do we hope that if things change, we'll be able to bring some things back? Absolutely. But the harsh reality is that this is where we are right now. And it's not because we're not listening, and it's not because we don't care. And it is because we care that so much time was spent to figure this out. And I know a lot of people like to use the word transparent. This was an extremely transparent process. I so appreciate that Mr. Markarian we meet, if not monthly, every other month, with the PTO presidents, and he spelled out to them exactly what was going to happen. He spelled out to them just like he did tonight, what it means in terms of tenure, not tenure, when you can keep somebody, when you can't keep somebody, that it's not about who is the most favored administrator or teacher. That it comes down to what we are legally able to do when we are reducing in force. And so that being said, I am sad. I'm very sad, but I still have hope that our district will remain as wonderful as it is, and we will continue in the next year to try to come up with ways to maintain the best of the best. But you have to know, in full transparency, we have hard times ahead of us. That's just the reality. So with that, I'm going to ask for a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
We're up to policy, and we have a report.
So we met on April 2nd, and the county superintendent approved our policy for eligibility of resident, non-resident students, proposed uniform tuition rates. We noted that the uniform rates for children of non-resident staff only applies to full-time staff. We talked about the AI plan coming out of the work done working with Watchung Hills Regional School District. We are working on a plan to come up with, and that's going to be reviewed at the May Policy Committee meeting coming. And we also expect to finalize recommendations for the high school policy regarding personal technology devices, smartphones and such, when Dr. Lazarick comes to the May Policy Committee meeting to present data on the phone-free pilot, which we've been doing. And we'll have more information in the next meeting.
Okay, and there is one item. Can I get a motion? Brett and Janice? And a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
We're up to curriculum, and we have a report.
Yeah, so curriculum met on April 4th. First up was a new textbook, Comprehensive Health Skills for Middle School, the 4th edition. Jennifer Baldessari, spoke about the Great Body Shop, which is the health curriculum core resource that's currently being used. The feeling is that it's a bit too simplistic, and the multiple sources it utilizes throughout WAMS, the WAMS curriculum, makes visibility to parents more challenging. So the staff feels the new textbook is more rigorous. It has more real-world examples, including more topical subjects, for example, vaping, body positivity, health insurance, social media. The book will be kept in school. It will not be taken home. And all lessons from the text will be available online for parental review. Curriculum itself is unchanged. This is just a new resource supporting that curriculum. Moving to the text is also a cost savings, because the Great Body Shop came with a $9K annual cost. This cost is for 6 years. Renewing online access after 6 years will be $2K annually. Digital access is currently being shared with board members. I'm in the middle of reading the book right now. And the physical textbook is in the board office if any of the public wants to review it. WAMS character education, scope and sequence. Let me just scroll down here a little bit. Okay, Dana Romano presented this. This is character education, would be 2 times per month. This does not displace any existing coursework. It really just standardizes what teachers are already doing across the grades. The full scope and sequence is linked in the minutes. Discussion items, we talked about summer curriculum projects. Overall, summer curriculum projects were reduced by 1/2 due to budgetary reasons. Curriculum projects are also linked in the minutes. One question that was asked is what will be missed during the school year due to curriculum writing cuts that will affect the students. There was a good amount of discussion regarding that as well. AI for education debrief. Critical AI literacy, also linked in the minutes. Ms. Fox discussed the AI forum at Watchung Hills. She detailed the AI workshop. AI for Education is consolidating feedback and will be presenting an AI plan for us to consider. There was extensive discussion among the committee regarding the uses of AI, and results will be brought to the staff and the policy committee for review. There was discussion, on the strategic plan. Let me scroll down again. And Ms. Fox provided a review of the strategic plan academic program discussion. There were two discussions, one at 10 a.m. and one at 7 p.m. She presented the PowerPoint used to guide the public discussion. That's also linked in the minutes. One thing to consider coming out of the discussion is how to balance the philosophies of student acceleration versus not overstressing the student population. There was a good amount of discussion on that topic. Budget reduction program impact. So elementary, as you all probably know at this point, scroll down again. Elementary Spanish and third grade strings and chorus are being eliminated. 8th grade photography is being eliminated, but the photography program at the high school is going to be unaffected. There will be a reduction in cycles, for example, from 6 to 5 cycles, and some semester electives will be cut due to low enrollment. And that's it. We'll meet again on May 2nd.
Okay. We're up to wellness.
The committee met on March 27th. The first item of business was meeting with the student government of Cedar Hill. Students commented that they are happy that there's always an adult they can turn to if they're having a problem. They also appreciate having the option to meet with the guidance counselor in a private setting. Students described their teachers as compassionate, funny, friendly, and sensitive to students' needs. They like that the teachers use a variety of instructional techniques and that they take the time to make sure each student understands a lesson. The 5th grade students like the platooning model and feel it helps them prepare for middle school. They feel that there's a good balance of work time and social time at Cedar Hill. They also had some suggestions to consider. Families would like regular reminders of scheduled early morning band and chorus. They would like more opportunities for outdoor phys ed and more sports training in PE classes. They also requested healthier cafeteria offerings, especially vegetarian options. Some students expressed the need for additional practice in managing time, materials, workload, and extracurricular activities. We also had an update on the Hello Project. Joseph spoke about that earlier, so I won't add much to that. Just that families receive a weekly email with the topic and 15 questions that will be discussed in school among students and staff, and that families are encouraged to have those conversations at home as well. The goal is that teachers will make connections with students and that every student at Ridge will have at least 2 adults that they can turn to during the school day. The cell phone pilot is going well. Teachers are following the new policy, and fewer than 10 phones are confiscated each day, and that's as of last month, so I'm sure there's improvement in that. We also had a post-secondary report presentation from Mrs. Smith. This provided statistics for both college admissions and career education. The full report is available on the district website, and just some highlights about that. For college admissions, 438 students graduated in the class of 2024. 91% indicated that they would attend a 4-year school after graduation. 4% said a 2-year school, and 5% had other post-secondary plans or were undecided. The college acceptance rates were similar to those reported in 2023. Rutgers, the University of Pittsburgh, New York University, and Northeastern remain among the schools with the highest number of Ridge applications. As far as career education, a goal of the counseling department has been to increase opportunities for students to become more aware of post-secondary pathways other than 2- and 4-year college programs. These include a full-year internship and a May-June internship, which Joseph also spoke about during senior year. Also school-to-work opportunities and early college credit. Sophomore students and families were invited to a presentation on Naviance and an introduction to career resources. A dedicated Pathways website resource and site catalog is now available to help interested students find internship sites. Seniors involved in the Pathways program are meeting with a variety of student and parent groups to present the program opportunities and to answer questions. They will also present at an upcoming Board of Education meeting. That presentation Mr. Markarian mentioned is also available on the district website. The next Wellness Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 24th.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Grotto? Okay, we are up to facilities and operations.
Okay, so Facilities and Ops met on Thursday, April 3rd. The first item discussed was the status of work orders. It was noted that there were several work orders that were older than 90 days. Keep in mind this was on April 3rd, so a lot of those older work orders were planned for completion over the spring break, so we'll have to see how that went at our next meeting. There were a bunch as well that were older than 90 days, specifically in HVAC, that we kind of track separately. A lot of those are related to air conditioning, and we're waiting for the warmer weather to be able to test the equipment and line up the necessary repairs on those particular air conditioning units. We also talked about continuing to monitor weekly counts of new work orders entered against those closed in the same time period as a tracking mechanism. So we'll continue to do that. We talked about potentially lighting the varsity field that we're hoping to be able to have converted from natural grass to artificial turf. Our business administrator, Mr. Rollo, did a little research and shared the visual effects of different types of lighting systems on fields to highlight the difference between old flood lamps and modern field lighting. We talked about construction project updates with respect to the Mount Prospect roof and direct install projects. The Mount Prospect roof is scheduled to have substantial completion on or about August 22nd, and we're still pursuing direct install projects for Cedar Hill and Oak Street elementary schools, but they are not yet fully approved. We talked about the status of the Lee Field track, some maintenance repairs that have been ongoing on it, and the need to do some coring of the track surface in preparation for the next time we need to replace that surface. We also looked at the history of finable lates for our transportation companies, meaning our bus routes, comparing 23-24 last school year to the current school year, 24-25, and noticing a extremely good improvement on the number of finable lates, meaning that this year's service has been much, much better and has had much fewer finable lates compared to last year. I think that was the result of the rebidding and the new vendors. We talked about the status of transportation renewals for next year with our different busing vendors. Two of them are renewing at CPI, which is the standard renewal rate in the transportation contracts. And one of our other bidders, we're going to have to rebid because they're not renewing. And some of our routes have to be rebid anyway, just by the nature of the bids from last time through the bidding process. Finally, we talked about the cafeteria food service bid renewal, and we talked about the pros and cons of the requirement in the food service bid specification to try to improve the food quality and menu selections, especially at the elementary school level. And the committee agreed that that should be a priority in terms of the structure of the bid documents and the award. So I think that's out to bid, Jim, and supposed to come back?
May 1st.
May 1st, okay. So the bid is out, and we'll have those results on May 1st. The next meeting for facilities and ops, we're working out. We don't have a date set yet. There will not be a meeting in May, but we will have a meeting in June. We're trying to work out the date. Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions? I can just almost anticipate the thought of, wait, you're looking into turfing and you're looking into Lee Field, and you've just told us that you don't have money in the budget. So I'm going to toss this over to you, Dave, to just explain that there's a difference between capital reserve and the ROD grants, because I don't want people walking out of here thinking, oh, well, they do have money because they are able to do those things, because they are very different. So maybe you just quickly explain so people understand that.
I see Jim's about to push. Why don't you go
Okay.
ahead, Jim? He's the expert.
Yeah, that's correct. For example, the roof prospect and mount prospect is funded from capital reserve. These are funds that are ring-fenced specifically for capital projects that are on the district's long-range facility plan, which is a state-approved application. All the districts are required to maintain a 5-year long-range facility plan that outlines important capital projects. You are allowed to use capital reserve funds for those projects, but you can't use them for any other purposes. You can't use them for supplies, you can't use them for recurring costs such as salaries or any sort of consumable type of service. They are strictly reserved by statute for capital projects.
Just to add on to that a little bit, school districts are very different than the rest of the world, how it works. We have rules that we have to follow, so there are separate funds. You have to follow those rules. Similar with how we talk about medical costs. There are specific rules that we have to follow. How we cut staff, there are rules what we have to follow. So it's very different than what most people are used to and how we have to make cuts. We don't have choices in a lot of these areas, so we can't just take funds from one place and use it in another. It's just not possible. It's not allowed.
And just to add to that also, we have to keep in mind the nature of our facilities and the need to maintain them. We have some great facilities, but when you've got 800,000 plus square feet, it's a huge undertaking to maintain all that, not to mention all the grounds in the athletic fields. And as we know from our research on our inventory and our facility needs assessment, we've got many, many, many millions of dollars of projects to try to address over the next several years. So it's not as though the funds in capital reserve are even enough to deal with all of that.
Thanks. We're up to liaison reports. Does anybody have one?
Again, with the Municipal Alliance, we met last week, and the goal is to prevent and reduce the use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Just want to announce again that the big 5K challenge, the 35th anniversary, is coming up on June 1st, Sunday. So try to get your kids to run. It's for a very good cause. I'm making my kids run. They don't have a choice.
Thank you.
I also have a couple of items. One is an update from Bernard's PEC and CPAC. They have 2 virtual events coming up next week. On Tuesday, April 29th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. There's a session on college-ready strategies for success inside and outside the classroom. This is a presentation by Dr. Mary Hebert, who is the director of Fairleigh Dickinson University's Regional Center for Learning Disabilities. And she's going to discuss academic and non-academic skills, executive functioning, self-advocacy, the power of strengths, and life skills. And that's great for high school students who are considering going to college. There's also another event that's being sponsored by PEC and SPAN, which is New Jersey's statewide parent advocacy network. This is on family engagement in the IEP process, your rights and your role. That date is April 30th at 7 p.m. You can check the Berners PEC Facebook page or website for more information on that. I also have an update from Somerset County Educational Services Commission. The Board of Directors met on April 2nd. They approved items related to finance, transportation, personnel, and policy. Superintendent Harold Dunsavage provided a tour of the building and trades workshop, which is located in the Career Center. It was established 9 years ago to help meet the needs of students with IEP or 504 plans who did not qualify for admission to Somerset County VOTEC. During their cycle in building and trades, students learn practical hands-on skills in framing, siding, plumbing, electrical, tiling, decking, and wallpapering. The goal is for students to be able to apply for good-paying assistant jobs upon graduation. The Career Center administrators are looking into possibly expanding the program to provide Saturday courses.
Is that it? Thanks. Anybody else? Dave?
I went to the township committee meeting, and the big topic was affordable housing, so I know Keith was there as well, and I know a few members of the board also listened in, and the administration followed. So the biggest takeaways from that are they're going to start building 2 more communities housing. The one that really impacts us is Westgate. It will be a lot more students coming in. We don't know exactly how many and the impact yet, but we will continue to study that, make sure we understand the impact, and we'll report back to you in the future on that.
Thank you. We are now up to public comment. You may come down, sign in on the clipboard, and anything you would like to share, now is the time.
Good evening, Pamela Haviland, 153 Canterbury Way. I know that you all have seen my face here year after year after year. You know that I follow very closely the Board of Education, and I appreciate all that the board does and the administration does, and I appreciate how incredibly difficult these decisions are. I just want to know if someone can please explain to me how, knowing what was coming down the line, why did the board just a couple years ago do a 0.7% and then the following year a 0% tax increase when the state allows you to go to 2%? While I'm no fan of paying more taxes, if you knew this was coming, couldn't you have collected the revenue, and could it have helped in the situation we are in now? The Township Committee, I believe, never went with a 0% tax increase. Why would the Board of Ed? You said that you saw this coming. You said you went over everything with a fine-tooth comb. Even with lower enrollment, you knew the price of everything would be going up. You knew insurance would be going up. You knew utilities would be going up. Everything, everything. Now, I can appreciate that you were keeping in mind citizens who are on tight budgets, but wouldn't it be prudent to keep a steady 2% increase every year instead of 0% one year and then the almost 4% we'll have this year, and we still are going to feel the pain? Now, thinking outside the box, is there a way to survey the community and see if they'd be willing to do a pay-to-play for certain programs? I remember paying for middle school sports for all 3 of my kids. I didn't mind doing it. I understood there was not money in the budget for middle school sports, and I was happy to pay for my kids to play. I appreciate fiscal responsibility, but I'm sure everyone here would moved into town for our great schools, and our extraordinary real estate values reflect that great reputation, as people pay even more for a home here in Basking Ridge than they would a comparable home elsewhere. Since it's going to be painful for years going forward, let's think outside the box. Let's see what the community is willing to do to save the programs they love. Thank you very much. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Ms. Avalon.
Good evening. My name is Yulin Pan. I live in 21 Raleigh Court. I have a 8th grader and 11th grader. Both of them are in orchestra. They are having fun and meet good friends in orchestra. They cannot make it here today, so they want me to come here to speak for them. They are already in middle school, they are already in high school, but we really proud of our music program. I brought the CJMEA Central Regional Music Program in chamber group. There are 44 people William N., we have 7 people out of 44. So there are about like 1,500 middle school. We take like 15 or 16% in the chamber group program. So we are like #1 here. But we work so hard, we practice so hard, parents support, teachers support, but when we look back, we don't have support. Well, we look like a cutting down of the music program. And the music program is not like, oh, we cut down to this year, we come back next year. You stop practicing, you will come back. You have to start from 101. So I just want to ask if you like the Frozen performance like you just see. If you see the high school Cinderella, you will know that without paid orchestra, it's incomplete. But the music, especially string, you have to start very early. They have little tiny like instrument, so you can start very early. But if you pass the prime time, let me say, if you pass like 3rd grade, it will be a little bit too late. Because your body already stiff, you cannot like standing, you cannot hold the violin with your shoulder and chin. I spend quality time with my kids, practice violin. I'm pretty sure that it will be their lifelong hobby. So just please leave the budget here with a doll and give our children music, art, and soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please make sure you signed in also? I already signed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yeraf Shaf. I spoke before, and I would just like to say how the music department, kids who start music early on, they keep these skills with them lifelong. Starting earlier helps them develop better skills, and by restricting their music learning till much later in life, it restricts their ability to perform. Also, I would like to say, if we're cutting teachers now, and we keep cutting teachers down the line, as a student who still has 4 years left in this district, how am I gonna have to perform with, if we keep cutting teachers down every single year, are there gonna be any teachers left to teach us? And when classes are so packed, am I gonna get the same attention from the teacher that I do now? So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lindsay Panucci, 146 Linden Drive. First, as nice as it was to see the elementary school performances at the beginning of this meeting, it was honestly also really difficult to watch because many of us here know that a lot of those programs won't be around next year. So it was great to see what all the elementary school students are capable of, but it was also really difficult, in my personal opinion. So I have a few questions about the agenda and what's happening in the district due to the budget cuts. First, I'm wondering if there was a retirement package that we considered offering to our teachers. I know that with this happening across the state and many, many districts having to make cuts, I do know that Milburn created a retirement package to entice staff that's paid on the higher pay scale. So I was wondering if we looked into that. Secondly, most of us here tonight are hoping to learn more information because pretty much we're all operating on what we've heard through the grapevine. For example, on the agenda, the reduction in force list I find to be extremely vague. Special education grades K to 5 is listed for 4 positions, special education grades 9 to 12, 1 position, special education grades 6 to 8, 2 positions. What are these positions? Are these teachers, support staff, BCBAs, occupational therapists, speech therapists, physical therapists? Is the abolishment of the special education supervisor for K to 5 and 6 to 12 included in these 7 RIFs, or are these an additional 7? Also, when will we learn more about where these RIFs are, specifically whether they're in the above teacher, support staff, therapist column? Based on this agenda, I can see that Kathleen Dewspout, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, has been assigned to be the assistant principal at Cedar Hill for next year. So that answers my question about if we're going to lose Sarah Thompson as our vice principal. But Ms. Cody isn't listed anywhere on the agenda. So when will we know definitively if she's being replaced? Will there be a list posted, or will parents just have to hear by word of mouth? Third, you keep saying that you saw this coming, which a few other people have commented on. I'm confused why there was a 6-day rotation cycle created for this year at the elementary schools, introducing Spanish in an exploratory period, if we saw this coming. Why didn't we just hold off on that, keep the 5 days, not introduce Spanish, so we weren't giving and then taking away? And then I'm sure that would have also saved moving forward to this year to roll over. Finally, it's been hard to hear all of you say, it's been a very glum picture that's been painted. You've all, in your comments, stated that this is gonna happen again next year and the year after that. And last year, the district had to address a multi-million-dollar deficit, and then again this year we're having the same conversation. So what I'm asking all of you is to please figure out how we don't have to have this conversation next year. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ms. Panucci.
Hi, Barbara Geary, 66 Dryden Road. I spoke earlier, and I am disappointed that you approved the list of RIFs that were listed on the board, on the agenda, without thoroughly looking further into the administration side of our district. You keep saying that our district is losing population, but we still have the same number of assistant principals throughout the district. Is there a way to combine, reduce it to a supervisor, so we don't have to have more teachers? If this is going to be consistent and our district just keeps shrinking, per the agenda, there's 4 teachers in English that received notification. That's significant. Math, 2 teachers in high school. So what are we talking about? We're changing a class size from 25 to 30. That's not sustainable for a teacher. That's not sustainable for the district. We need a sustainable plan. What can be done to fix it without affecting the students? It's not cutting teachers. Something else has to be done. This district will continue to topple over if you don't look at the administration side. And there's one more thing I wanted to say. And I forgot. That's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Geary.
Annika Forzani, Dawn Drive. Just a couple of comments. I was also a little concerned a few years ago when the board had approved a 0% tax increase. When we, again, knew this was coming, and in fact that year we had added even an extra $500,000 in extra security officers. And I do recall at least one board member sitting there saying, well, would like to at least increase taxes to cover that, and she was overruled, unfortunately. So it is concerning that this wasn't really considered when that 0% tax increase was put in play. And I know that was, I believe, around the time, Mr. Shaw, that you were running, and you said, I remember being in a meeting where you said, you are concerned about this. You see this coming down the pike. I know you have a lot of financial experience, and that was one of the reasons that you had run, and you wanted to see, what you could do to have least impact, as I understand you have young kids in the district as well. One thing that, again, I'm not a financial expert, so and maybe I'm naive about this, but when I was trying to understand this, I see that the district has 6 years remaining of $6 million per year debt, which is about 5% of the budget, which is similar to other districts, but is also a big portion of what we're trying to cover right now. And so I guess I'm just wondering if it was considered to do like debt refinancing or something, so that instead of several years down the road where it goes to nothing, that maybe we can have some alleviation on budget cuts this year, I know that's what a lot of companies do. I don't know if this was considered. Again, I'm not a finance expert, but just something that kind of popped into my mind that I didn't quite understand why we would not consider that at least. The other thing, as far as the arts, I'm also a huge supporter of the arts, so I completely get everything that people said here, and I know there are hard decisions. I know a lot of people on the board had people, also kids very involved in the arts, myself as well. And I will say that I go pretty much to every orchestra, band, choir concert, the plays, and they're absolutely phenomenal. I often feel when I leave that I've seen something that's almost equivalent to a New York City production, except for that it took me only 5 minutes to get here, and it was either free or a nominal cost. And I think that's something we need to spread the word in the community, even people who don't have kids, that this is free. This is free to the seniors. This is free. Any little tax increase, or the tax increases that could come this year are probably the equivalent of, maybe not even one trip into the New York City to see a concert. And so I think we really need to get the word out that these are absolutely amazing performances, and really to increase support of the arts in the community at large, even those who don't have kids in the school district. So just a couple thoughts I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fasani.
Hi, Nicole Pavlin, 54 Beechwood Road. I came here also in support of the arts and music programs, and I love seeing the performances earlier and all the engagement. The students leaving right now, thank you so much for speaking up, and keep speaking up. It's so important to be engaged for the whole community. I know everybody here cares so much, and I appreciate all your comments as well. Everybody who spoke tonight, it's so important to have this public conversation. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can continue this, that we can work together. I heard some great ideas, from both sides. There's a way we can go together, and I'm wondering if the board can have, a series of thought exchanges where we can talk about creative solutions, kind of out of the box thinking, where we can come up with some solutions that we can have some of these programs and some ways to keep these really important programs for our kids, to keep them going in some ways. I know there's a lot coming ahead with the way things are going, finances and politics and everything, but we're a strong community that has a lot of potential, and our community is very engaged, and let's keep that up. I think it's really important. But I did want to just speak to my own personal experience with the arts and music programs for my kids, because I just like it to be on the record at this point. And I think it's such a special district for especially the arts and the music programs. Both of my children started their musical journey in the district in 3rd grade. My son, he learned cello from Mrs. Kovaleski in 3rd grade at Oak Street School. My daughter participated she did violin 3rd grade with Mrs. Kovaleski as well, and she also did chorus in 3rd grade. We're a big musical family. We've been very big supporters of the arts and music. And I think the younger the better, as people said earlier. The younger the better for many, many different reasons. It's such a big part of who we are, and it's really just important to keep that going. And my son is still doing cello. He's going all through WAMS with Mr. McGowan, and he's going to go with Ms. Curran in the high school. And he has a love of music. We've taken him to the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra, Brook Orchestra. It's something that we're all very passionate about, and we would like to see this excellent program continue. And like I said, it's important for it to start early. And just on a personal note as well, you never know where it's going to take you. I had surgery a few weeks ago, and my surgeon told me playing a musical instrument helps him to practice with this hand sewing. So you never know where things like that bring you, and you heard from the students how, socially it helps with anxiety, and it brings people together. So just in general, I know programs may come and go, but you've heard from so many of us how important the music and art programs are, and as things come and go, please consider that this district is very passionate about having a strong arts programs for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. Does anybody have anything for board forum?
Yeah, I would just like to address a little bit of clarity on the tax increases from a couple of years ago. What that does is allows us to save money during those years, but it would not have affected our budget last year or this year because of the ability to use what's called, and maybe Jim, you can correct me, or Nick, banking any tax savings that we had allows us to actually increase the budget more this year and last year by using that banked savings. So I just want to clarify that. That was it.
Go ahead, Jim. It's not often I get to talk about budgetary legislation, but yes, Mr. Mead's point is correct. When you don't go to the 2%, the state budgeting statutes do allow you to bank that cap, that unused taxation authority for use in subsequent years. And at that time when you had the ESSER funds, the district had a lot more flexibility, and so one of the options was that the board was aware of at the time was that use of banked cap could be available. However, if you don't generate banked cap, it runs out, and I think some of the things that we've talked about in finance committee is that banked cap is running out, and next budget, not this budget, that we'll have to vote on May 5th, but the budget after will be the last year that there's any banked cap to use. So it's those circumstances that looking, a year or two budgets out that are going to be very challenging.
You want to weigh in on the debt service and when we're allowed to do stuff with the debt service in terms of refinancing?
Right, yeah. So as far as the debt service goes, the board has already passed, I think, 2 authorizations to refinance the bonds, and as I understand it, the market conditions are not hitting the trigger point. There's a statutory trigger point where there's a calculation of how much savings the refinancing, if it will generate X of savings, the board is obligated to refinance. So the board has passed those resolutions, but it's now dependent on market conditions. So interest rates have to drop to the point where refinancing triggers the savings. So the board's done everything that it can do in terms of refinancing. And typically, as the speaker commented, that towards the end of a debt service schedule, the board will have to look, usually 2 to 3 years prior to it, they will have to look at, what are the needs in the district and what sort of things, maybe a debt service eligible project to accomplish.
Thanks, Jim. So just in terms of some of the other comments about how people can get involved and share ideas, we have been running meetings regarding our strategic plan, which obviously is setting out goals for the long term in terms of district operations and a variety of other things. So those opportunities have been presented, and so certainly people are encouraged to take advantage of those and reading the SOS Express to understand when those opportunities are available. We'll probably present a draft strategic plan, I would say. I think I had scheduled it for the second meeting in May for some discussion on that. So there's an opportunity to get involved on that particular project. The other thing I wanted to mention was in terms of class size and a lot of these decisions, we do analyze this on a yearly basis with the class size report that we prepare for the board, which is specifically designed to look at where there's opportunity to navigate staffing situations, and we do that in the winter in preparation for the budget in the spring. so that we understand where we are. And when we talk about these class size adjustments, we're not talking about pushing average class size to 30 at the 6-12 level. We're not talking about doing that. It's probably more like in the 24, 25 range. I can certainly remember times when many of our classes at Ridge were pushing 30 or 31 students. So I think we'll be, and still in a very reasonable place with the schedule for next year. As far as long-term, I think Mr. Amin and Mr. Rallo accurately captured what's going on with bank cap, and in terms of this idea of foreseeing the future, it's difficult to foresee the future in budget projections. It's a little bit of, we joke, budget Nostradamus. But the truth of the matter is, we didn't know that we were going to have a 20+% increase in our health benefit costs. Nobody predicted that. That wasn't known. And, you're talking millions of dollars in unanticipated need in the budget. And that can happen from year to year. And it happens to every district where sometimes they have a tough year with health benefits and there's a major adjustment to the baseline. And that's kind of what we're experiencing this budget cycle. Hopefully that trend doesn't continue, and the next cycle is better than this time around. We haven't seen an increase like this in quite some time. We've been really fortunate. Overall, the staff has been really healthy, which has been wonderful, and we had a tough 18-month run. Hopefully that settles down and we don't see another spike again in the next cycle, but those are things that you can't necessarily predict. Inflation is what it is. We've been seeing high rates for a little while. That seems to be settling down a little bit, but the truth is, the entire state, as many of the board members have shared, is struggling with this issue, and the struggle is because costs don't go up 2%. They go up more than 2%. So when your levy is limited to 2%, it really becomes extremely challenging, especially in years where other unforeseeable costs really spike. And that's just the tough reality of it. And so all districts are struggling with this. What do you do when costs go up on a year-to-year basis anywhere from 4 to 6% on average, and your levy goes up 2%? Well, that's great. In other years, some of your other revenues go down. So when that happens, you have some really difficult situations, and we kind of ran into a perfect storm going into 26, 27, right? We had surprise upticks in certain expense areas and significant downturn in revenue in other areas. So those two things together had kind of created this situation. So difficult, I know, but I think that as I wrote to someone today in an email who shared concerns about the budget, we have a great staff here, and I am 100% confident that our kids are going to have a good experience again next year. We're not in any kind of dire situation. There are pain points, no question, and we'll have to adjust, but we will have an excellent year again in 26, 27. Or excuse me, 25, 26. 26, 27, we'll see.
Robin.
So just to dovetail on what Mr. Markarian just said, I have a kind of unique perspective because I've been on the board for so many millions of years that I remember when we had budget cuts a number of years ago that were really extreme. We lost our state aid. The state took our surplus. They put the 2% cap in, and we lost a whole lot of state aid all at the same time. And we had to make massive cuts. I mean, tons of classes, honors classes, electives at Ridge High School. My older kids had 30 kids in their classes. We cut a lot of things at the elementary school. We had large class sizes across the board. And so over the next bunch of years, we were under the 2% cap, increasing taxes 2% each year, trying to get to the point where we could bring back some of the things that got cut. And really the only reason that a lot of them were put back in is because we did start having decreasing enrollment from our peak. So we did add back. So it's like a perspective like, yeah, we kind of didn't downsize as much as we could have if you looked at just the enrollment going down, but part of that was because we were trying to add back a lot of the things that were cut. because we had some pretty severe cuts. And if you remember back in the day, like we almost lost, we almost went to half-day kindergarten instead of full-day kindergarten. We almost lost an entire period of instruction at the high school, and kids would have had one less class to choose from. So, I feel like during all of that, my kids, regardless of what age they were and what got cut, they all got an amazing education anyway, because our staff is amazing and our district is very strong. So I agree with Mr. Markarian that I feel confident that our children, are going to have an amazing experience, and I totally understand, because I've lived through it, with my own family, like how upsetting it is when something that you really care about. We had, in the past, we lost lots of clubs and activities. We had to do pay to play at the middle school for sports. Like, we had a lot of things. We lost intramurals. They used to have intramurals at the middle school. Some of the things never came back. I guess school budgets, like Mr. Shaw said, is so different than in the private sector, and there's so many restrictions on what we can do and what we can't do and how it all works. It's confusing to the public because we are under all these different restrictions. We can't just do whatever we want to get better healthcare costs. We've done everything we can do. We went self-insured, we tried, and then the state passes a new law, and it ends up slamming our district, who was trying to do the right thing and was containing costs in the first place. So I guess I'm going to go back to what we kept telling people when we had all those things in the past was, you have to reach out to your legislators. There's things that New Jersey has done that have hurt us, like Chapter 44. You might believe that it's good to have a 2% cap on taxes because you don't want your property taxes to go crazy. So it's not like everyone has to agree what they think they want to tell, to the state. And I think there are avenues that the parents in our district, if they see that our district is being hurt by things that are out of our control, at the state level, people can write letters, they can, lobby in Trenton for some things that might help us. So that's my plug.
Sorry, just real quick, I didn't know if Nick or Sean want to address the question about the RIFs and what we're allowed to present out to.
Sure. So we can't obviously talk about individual positions or people, and I appreciate that there is some ambiguity, and honestly, the ultimate impact will not be known until we finish the details of next year's schedule, and so that's part of the reason for that. We know based on class size, we know based on our conversations with the administrative team where there's room, what the final details will look like. We really honestly don't know every detail at this point. We just know where we can make space. And so honestly, that's really going to be part of what happens in the scheduling process all the way through the summer.
Yeah, so I remember when they were talking about getting rid of kindergarten as well. And I remember some of our elderly residents coming up and saying, if you raise taxes this much, I'm not going to be able to stay in this town. And I had kindergarten kids at the time, so I was very much in favor of keeping full-day kindergarten. But that did kind of stick with me, and it sticks with me now. So our mandate is to give these children the best education that the community can afford. And I think that second half of it isn't getting addressed enough, because I'm pretty sure almost everybody in this room right now, I could be wrong, because maybe it's an assumption, can afford a couple $100 on their property taxes. There is a good amount of seniors in this town who that's a big hit for. And I think when we talk about what we're going to reduce on or what we're going to raise taxes on, we need to keep that in mind. They're paying taxes into this system too. They have a vested interest in this system too. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind too, as we're trying to balance tax increases versus reductions. Because as Robin said, even when the district went through some lean years, this was an excellent school system. It's one of the best school systems in the state. It will be that, it will continue to be that, whether our offerings are as expansive as they are now, or they're just fewer, like I said before, like fewer options on the menu. So yes, we want to provide our children with every opportunity, but we also have to keep in mind that segment of the community where tax hikes are not just an inconvenience, they are a real problem. So when we had an opportunity, like we did a couple years ago, to offer a 0% tax hike and bank the cap for when we might need it, that's what we did. It's incumbent upon us to offer the community relief when we can and raise taxes when we must. And I think that should be our operating philosophy. That's my 2 cents on it.
Anybody else? Okay. May I get a motion to adjourn then? Mike and Dave? Thank you, everyone.